It's 1047 AD. William the Bastard, the Duke of Normandy, is fighting several prominent rebels, including his cousin Guy of Brienne, in order to maintain his duchy, despite being a legitimate male heir of the previous duke. Our story starts in 1028 AD, with William's father, Duke Robert I, who, like many former rulers of Normandy, had to fight to keep his dukedom from dynastic rivals and vassals. Yet unlike most dukes, Robert never married, and the only known mistress he had was William's mother, a woman called Hervilla. Their union resulted in William's birth. Now moving forward to 1035, the 8-year-old William is made heir to the Duchy of Normandy, as he was Robert's only son, despite being a bastard. After this event, Robert set off for a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Yet, on the return journey, Robert fell ill and died near Nicaea. His death sent shockwaves across Normandy. Suddenly, William was thrust into the Duchy of Normandy, becoming Duke at an incredibly young age. This made the young Duke's life suddenly more perilous. Yet thanks to the support of the King of France, Henry I, and his great uncle Archbishop Robert, William's position was slightly more tenable. Yet this mild stability was shattered in 1037, as Archbishop Robert died, leaving William without a guardian. But not for very long. Soon William became a sort of hot potato for the aristocracy, as he would gain a guardian, then said guardian would either die or were murdered. This troubled period of William's life would continue well into his adult life, yet when William came of age to rule his duchy, he wasted no time in asserting his rule against his unruly vassals. Yet some vassals and parts of the nobility resented William, as being ruled by a bastard was less than prestigious for the realm, and some felt there were more viable, legitimate rulers. One of these potential claimants was William's cousin Guy, whose mother was the daughter of William's grandfather, Richard II, Duke of Normandy. This gave Guy a firm claim to the dukedom, and even after receiving substantial lands from William, Guy still felt he should be the Duke of Normandy over a legitimised bastard. These animosities continued to build for the next few years, and eventually in 1046, Guy was at the head of a rebellion to overthrow William. Guy had managed to gather support of several barons and lords from central Normandy. With these lords at his side, he gathered a large army of 25,000 men. But Guy's initial plan didn't involve any sort of pitched battle or invasion. He first chose to try and capture William. Whether the plan was to kill William after capturing him, or force him to abdicate and sign the dukedom over to Guy is unknown. However, William was warned about the plan late at night by his jester, according to some legends, and escaped, avoiding all the rebels. Now knowing he was facing a substantial revolt, William rode straight to the French king Henry for aid, as Henry had been a ward for the young William. William convinced King Henry that this revolt was not just a rebellion against him, but as the rebels had risen up against a chosen vassal of the king, this was an open challenge to the king's authority. Heeding to William's words, Henry raised his banners and called forth an army of 10,000 men, mainly consisting of mounted knights and a few thousand foot soldiers. William himself raised what men he could from his own banners, and at the start of August 1047, both King Henry and William marched towards Normandy to meet the rebels in open battle. After marching along the River Orne, William's scouts reported that the rebels were nearby along the plains of Valais Dunes. William was stationed south of the plains at the village of Valmoray with King Henry, as he was taking mass in the village, a custom normal before a battle. Yet, even before the battle lines were drawn, some barons and lords, most notably Ralph of Tesson, defected back to the side of William and the King, further bolstering their numbers. William and Henry soon departed the village of Valmoray and headed towards the plains to meet the rebels in open battle, despite being outnumbered. William was confident of victory, as news from his scouts told of how the rebels' formation was in disarray and lacked the cohesion his army had. William and Henry arrived at the battlefield with an army numbered around 10 to 15,000 men. Their army was mostly comprised of mounted knights, including the fierce Norman knights, led by William himself, and a few thousand footmen. The rebel army led by Guy and several other lords was numbered around 20,000 to 25,000, Guy having more cavalry than William. However, there wasn't much coordination with the other rebel leaders. Once William's and Henry's lines were drawn, William wasted no time in charging at the enemy. He became the embodiment of rage and led his Norman knights straight into Guy's main cavalry line. Guy's own cavalry met the charge and a bloody skirmish began. Bitter hand-to-hand fighting on horseback began, with William cutting down many as his bloodlust soared, seemingly embodying the spirit of his Viking ancestor Rolo. Whilst William was hacking and cutting through each enemy that opposed him, the King of France, Henry, however, was unhorsed and was nearly killed if not for the intervention by his loyal retainers. More clashes and skirmishes between the cavalry of each side continued, while the archers and footmen simply waited on the sidelines. And eventually, after several more skirmishes, William and Henry's forces were gaining the upper hand, thanks to more rebels defecting during the battle, as well as several key lords being cut down either by William himself or by Henry's forces. Guy had fled the battle sometime earlier, retreating to one of his castles. Now without leadership, the rebels' loose cohesion was shattered, with many rebels fleeing towards the River Orne, while William was still in a bloodlust hunting them down. The fate of many rebels that day was to either be chased down or drowning while attempting to cross the Orne. This victory showed all in Normandy that William was a capable leader, yet many of the leaders of the rebellion, including Guy, were not put to death. Instead, William pardoned many of them, as he still needed them to rule the duchy effectively. He did force them to take down any illegal castles they had built, as well as pay significant fines to William, thus increasing his treasury greatly. The victory of Val-es-Dunes secured William's place as the ruler of Normandy, and although he still faced hostilities in a few minor wars until 1060, Normandy was firmly in William's grasp, and after securing some powerful alliance in Flanders, William's position was a lot stronger. Strong enough that he was considered to be the next King of England, but that is a story for another day.